Hello everyone and welcome back to that one playthrough of MMORPG Tycoon 2. I am Kyle once again and welcome to Bridge Mania! That's right, the new update came out and we've got bridges. We've got all kinds of bridges. We've got bridges that have bridges, we've got bridges that have stairs, we've got bridges that have all kinds of things, bridges that can be used for other things. We'll go through them one at a time. We've got bridges with gears, bridges with rickety planks. We got bridges with ropes. Woo! We got bridges with vines. We got bridges with trains, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Oh, that's not where I wanted to be. We've got bridges with spiral staircases. I mean, I'm totally not going to use those in other places and abuse the fact that I'm going to try not to use the bridge and just use the staircase for other things. We got bridges with bones. Yes. We've got bridges that are just casual bridges that you want to use for nice little bridgey things that have little ribbons because they're calm and collective and wonderful bridges. We've got bridges that look like they've been built by tea-drinking maniacs. And we've got a nice bridge down here that you can have for just a couple simple payments of $15.99 a month for the next 6 months. You can use bridges as ramps apparently to go up the new hills because now you can also make giant hills, and if you make bridges across giant hills, you've got giant pillars that exist at the bottom of said giant hills, which would technically be considered a valley if you had two said giant hills with a giant dip in between. And that's pretty much what the bridges can do now. There's also a number of other sceneries. I was about to say artifacts. They're not artifacts, Kyle. They are sceneries. So there's some, it looks like there's some new plants, some new colors to some of the old plants, actually. So they're like the same assets, kind of, but they've got some different looks to them, which I really like. There's a number of new lights. Some of these, like this one right here was actually already here. This one existed. Excuse me, sir, you can go away. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a number of new lights. We got water plants because we've got rivers. So we've got lilies and such. There's also some water-based scenery. So there's a broken boat, which we're definitely going to use. We've got like buoys and flags and stuff. There's a little pool. There's a fishing net thing. I guess that's not a net. That's a thing for drying fish. That's a drying rack, Kyle. So a number of cool little knickknacks there. The other piece is water. Now, water has been kind of reworked in this, which I am super excited about. Previously, you had to make a giant crevasse, and if it had water at the bottom, cool. But the further inland your territory was, so if you were to try and build water, say, on a territory that's completely landlocked, it probably wouldn't work. You'd create crevices that didn't always have water. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. It was very frustrating. The new tool, however, gives you a little bit of freedom. So you have the ability to not just create intentional water, but if you put it up next to somewhere where you've built a hill, you can have massive cliffs. You can also have it run a thin line all the way to the ocean. Now, the thing you have to keep in mind is that the water itself seems to be related to whatever altitude you want to create it at. So I've been here in my test kitchen area, as I call it, when I decide to try and break the game outside of my normal playthrough. And you've got these things called districts now. Now, if we create a flat district, for example, and I just want to go and make a district. Sorry, I don't know why I made that noise. It is simply just a flattened area that you would want to build like a town or something on. Now, there are two different types of districts that you can make. You've got down here, you've got districts. Those create just flat areas. Those are just flat areas that you want to use to create like, you know, a designated area for a town, right? So there's designated area for a town. Now the flat districts are a little bit more interesting. If we select the flat district by itself, you can control the height of the district. So if we get down nice and low here, you can watch the district go up in altitude. Very cool. So you can create different terrain heights. You can basically use this, I think, to make topographical regions throughout your entire zone. So if you wanted to create, say, you know, a flat area with a hilltop that you could build on, that's a great way to do it. You could also, in theory, expand it and create ridges, basically like lines of earth that are higher than the other, but these are still accessible by players as opposed to making mountain ranges. Mountain ranges before, once you built them, I don't know if I have any example mountain ranges. Here's an example mountain range. It's not traversable, so you can see that it's actually zoned out. There's like lines across it. This means players cannot cross it. But now we can create elevations that allow the players to go to, and they'll actually climb up these sides. The other neat thing you can do with this that I'm actually super excited about is you can change the width. So if I expand this out further, you'll see that yellow line expanding. It's making the slope not so severe. So I can actually scroll this back and forth, and I can make it a steeper cliff or a shallower cliff. So hillside versus cliffside. And if I bring this all the way down really, really narrow, then it will create an untraversable region, where now you can actually create like little funnels and have players walk through specific areas with danger zones below that they just aren't able to get to. Both of which I think are exceptionally valuable tools. The other thing you can do with the basic districts is if we go into the advanced section, you can actually recolor a segment of land. So if you want to create just a segment that is just tainted, and you can do this with the other region here too, you can recolor this one as well if you wanted to, or you can keep it the same as the rest of the territory. You can make it start to look like this area is specifically different than the rest of that region. So you can have like sub-regions within a region. You can also have it kind of taper outward too. So if you want to expand the color kind of drift, the way it kind of segments into that color, you can do that as well, or you can make it be more abrupt. So if you wanted to make like a little tainted region, a region that was, you know, scarred by evil in some way, or even just small circles, for example. So if I wanted to take the size down and I wanted to just do something as simple as create a little spotch on the ground like this, and then I wanted to take each one of these and I could recolor them, and let's say I did make them black as these examples are, I could do that. And then let's say we shrink down the color fade, and then I just switch over to interact. You've got these blotchy spots. Now granted, this is really small. You'd probably want to use a little bit of fade, but you could create scarred marks as if there was a war zone or bombs exploded or something damaged the earth. You have so much freedom, and these are color changeable. So if I go in here and I want to completely change the color as well, I could. Down here, click on this, and I want to make it like a bright red, I could. If I want to make it green and colorful as if it's got some kind of radioactivity, I could. If I want to make it pink because there's fairy magic there, I could. You can even do thin lines of this. So if I wanted to create like a little ridge line that was higher, and then let's say really, really narrow, I could make like a pathway that's really thin that goes by the rest of a town, or I could even submerge it deeper than what the rest of it is and create like little ravines that again are still walkable by players. And if that's not really cool to you, then I've got something that's really gonna knock your socks off. Because we've been dealing with the issue for a while of putting rocks down, for example, in regions, and players can just walk through these. There's no hitboxes here. But let's say now I just put a district in here. So I'm gonna very quickly just line this line up with the edge of these rocks. And then if I look inside of here, you'll see it's just all filled in. It's all one tiny district. And then if I click on this, I can shrink this down just so it's to the outside of there. I don't have to necessarily recolor it, but I can hit this button here that says obstruct center. And as soon as I do that, it now becomes a zone on the inside that is blocked off, similar to what I've done here with this example. And now players cannot walk inside of these rocks. And if I wanted to clean this up a little bit, I could obviously probably destroy some of this. So if I go clear districts, I could just clean this up so the outside just meets up better with the rocks. I could probably even shrink this down a little bit. And then as soon as I go back into the interact mode, you can see we colored the bottom of it. Sure, it's a little colored, but now players can't walk through this. It's completely untraversable, so the players would have to walk around these rocks, which is completely awesome. I know these are probably like small quality of life things that you would have expected the game to do anyways, but they're pretty freaking awesome. Let's quickly finish up by talking about lake districts, and this is how you create water. So you can create water in really whatever way you want. So if I were to just create a little lake district here, it automatically makes it water because it doesn't matter what depth it's at, we're in the mode to create water. If I click on this to edit it now though, you'll see I have control over the altitude. Now you'll see it kind of has some little curvature to the land here because we've got the altitude of the water is higher, but it's still going to dip down. So there's not going to be like this weird like same level as the land around it. It's always going to be just a hair lower as it should be. But if I bring the height of this up, and let's say we expand it out so it's still traversable by players, we've now got a giant walkway, walkable terrain feature that goes up to a lake. So if you wanted to have a big crater like a volcano or something, you could. And when I say volcano, I mean you could literally have a volcano. Because not only can I adjust the color of the land and make it scarred, say dark or black like it's been burned, but I can recolor the water itself and make more of a lava color at the top. And not only is it cool that you can do that color-wise, but if we go back to interact, this is actually going to be moving a little bit, and there's got these little little tiny wave animations in it. So it is actually kind of a living feature within your terrain. And you can do this again with water or with land. You can see this one here. If I click on my little water feature here, there's a river here that I've just created a line segment of it. But again, you can still recolor the water here as well. So you can always take it to a lighter blue, darker blue, whatever you want it to be. And then you can also change the height. Now I've kept the height of this one equal with the ocean because I wanted it to be like a river that was feeding out to the ocean, as this example goes for all these bridges. But let's say I wanted to make the slope going down to the river a little more mellow. I could do that. If I want it to be a little bit more sharp, I can do that as well, and I can bring this in so it's a little bit more severe. And then now you can see it's actually so steep that it's blocked off. Players can't go through it. Now players can't go in the water either to begin with. They're not allowed in the water, which is why the bridge function is necessary. But let's say I wanted to increase the height of my river, I could do that. It's going to do everything together. So if you wanted to have like sections of river that are kind of like scaling down from up high on one side of a territory all the way down to the ocean, you'd have to have several kind of these lake districts to make it kind of seem like the water's progressing down. But at the edge of each one of these, you'll end up with one of these. It looks a little clunky right now because I've got it not on the interact mode. But if I switch over to interact mode, typically you're going to get some decent waterfalls. This one looks a little clunky at the moment. Kind of bring this down a little bit, and if I actually probably shave some of this off here, then we'll kind of meet it back up to where it was. I could go like that. And then if I look through at interact, it does create kind of a waterfall feature. So depending on how you kind of finagle this, you could create like segments of different levels of water throughout the territory. You could have little waterfall regions that kind of eventually cascade down into a flat spot that goes into the ocean, let's say. So there's a lot of freedom with this new update. I mean, a lot of freedom. You can see I created a bunch of high stacks over here to test the bridges ability to go across valleys, and they still have giant pillars. Some of the pillars on some of the designs are a little wonky, but as far as going over rivers, they look fantastic. If you have segments of land, let's say like this, where you've made a really high terrain, and you could have people walk up, but you could also make this untraversable, for example. So if I made this really narrow like this, so players couldn't necessarily get up to the top, you can, in fact, use bridges as a means of going across segments that are kind of too large. So you could have a castle on top of a hill that has access points going up, that you can only go up one funnel as if it was like a defensive bottleneck of sorts. Lots of freedom. And then you've got the water, obviously, that you can use to create moats, you can create rivers, create lakes, and there's just a lot more flexibility with that. So now that I've wasted all this time at the beginning of this episode explaining the fact that there's so many new toys, it's time. It's time. It's time for the first ever Shatterstone remaster. Alright, so immediately right off the bat here, you can see a couple of differences. We've got a few more icons staring at us right in the face. There's a lot more, like, things floating around. I think these are the little, like, lightning bolts I saw before, but the icon has changed. And I don't know exactly what this icon is either, so it just confuses me even more in my tiny old man brain. Although there are these things that say entrance blocked, which I find interesting because I don't know if this is, like, a byproduct of like the scenery in front of it or what's going on, or if it's something that's more like an issue with users 0 by pushing. I don't understand this, but it's good to know that there are multiple things that apparently have their entrance blocked and can't even be used. Hold on, let's get sidetracked for a second. All right, if I move these items, I want this. If I shift this over, okay, it's not blocked anymore. Okay, so it's for some reason it has something to do with just location, proximity to other things. I don't know if it's because it's too close to the path or something else here, but let's move that. Okay, so that fixes it. it must just be, it's interrupted by whatever's in front of it. So it might be if it's too close to something else that it just becomes an issue. So if I go like this and rotate you, maybe, would that help? And it's fixed. Okay. So let's fix this. I'll go around and make those corrections real quick. The other thing I want to notice here is you'll see Eastwash here is incredibly shaded at the moment, and that's because the actual color within the region is dark. We colored this region dark intentionally. But now when you zoom out, you actually see the intended color of the territories, rather than when you zoomed out before and kind of everything was the same. So you can see Moonhaven over here kind of has that nice autumny, sunsetty color that we gave it. And then places like Karak have more of that blue tint, giving that ice-cold chill factor. And you can see those from a distance, right? This is going to be interesting, because this object says it's blocked, but it's intentionally inside of this building. This is really problematic, because if somebody can't use that, they can't use... Oh, it's the same thing with this one? Oh, this is... I don't like this. Is it doing that to my other instances? Oh, this one's blocked too. Granted, I haven't even built this dungeon yet, but okay. That's kind of a problem. That's one that's gonna have to be solved, I guess. We'll come back to that issue at a later date. All right, but the things I really want to focus on now that we have land and terrain control are monstrosities like Zephyr. Now, Zephyr was built with crevices all around it. And you can see the number of region, or parts of the region that are untraversable. Words are hard. Now, what we can do is we can start to open this back up so that all of this is actually accessible, and we can create still these danger regions where we've got, you know, these elite monsters that are chilling out in here. We've got regions that they have to fight through, so we can still give them accessible points where they could walk through these dunes, and they can look like dunes like they used to, but players can actually come down here and walk around. The other thing we can do is, and you can see over time in updates to the game, some of these bridges kind of got parts of them messed up to some extent. We'll be able to create actual bridges here, which means we'll be able to get rid of the portals and stuff that I used to originally create some of these things. I think there should be a portal in here. Yeah. So there's a portal in here that quote unquote makes the bridge. And there's a lot of bridges I created in this fashion. There's one over here in Karak inside the Frozen Vale. There's a couple of others that I probably can't remember. Regardless, we're gonna start making some corrections. For example, yeah, there's this one here too in Zephyr. I just never got around to fixing this because an update went through that originally fixed some of the terrain or the way the terrain interacted with certain things, and it completely broke some of my old builds, and I just never returned to them because I didn't have the patience to go in and fix this. But as a result, now that we have a bridge, I can just get rid of this nonsense. So really all I gotta do is select the things I want, hit delete, and this shouldn't take too long to do. I'll keep some of these things, like I like the fact that this has got a little hole here, and then you've got a little sunshade thing there. Gosh, it takes almost as much time to delete everything as it did to almost build it all. Okay, so a couple of things I want to do before I necessarily worry about the bridges too is figure out just how to handle some of these areas here that are crevasses, because this is technically not a district, and I need to figure out kind of the easiest way to turn this into a district. So to some extent, I think this needs to be a flat district. Now the question or the issue that might come up is if I were to create this into desert. So quickly what I'll do is I'll save the game. Now with the game saved, if I go ahead and take desert and I were to just put desert here, you'll notice that it immediately deletes all the scenery that's kind of touching it. So it gets rid of a lot of the rocks and stuff here, and it will just immediately get rid of a lot of the scenery that I've already put in there that I want to keep. Okay, so reloaded that save, so that way we have all of our nice scenery here. Now I'm pretty sure in the testing that I did, when I made districts, it didn't destroy scenery, but I want to see if I create a district here. Yeah, see how it's moving the scenery? That's what I wanted to do. So we'll go ahead and just take over the area that was the crevice, or the chasm rather. The chasm. Get rid of the chasm. So we'll de-chasmize this like so that it takes over all the area that used to be chasm. That's pretty awesome looking. Anyways, now I think if I click on this, yeah, so the region around it is considered too steep, which is fine. But we're gonna take the altitude up a little bit. And well, I guess, you know what I could do. Yeah, we wanna take it up. We wanna shrink the surrounding area. And then we're gonna take the altitude up. You'll notice that it's a little, okay, it's a little bit infringing on parts there. So let's do this. I'm gonna use the clear districts function, and I can see where I had the chasm in here originally. Kind of butted up there, like the line, it still exists in there, interestingly enough. So I'm gonna line this up with that. That way I should still have, well, maybe a little further. Yeah, let's go a little bit more out from there. I got kind of an idea of what we're gonna do, or how this should work. I mean, the idea is that I just make it exactly as it was before, pretty much. Oh, that was too far. Okay, because what this will do is it will make it so that this area is technically traversable, right? But you cannot access it from this section. So when you're lower level, or when you first get to the region, you kind of still have to stay up top here if you're gonna walk through these areas. Yeah, so there's still a walkable area technically down there. That out. Yeah, they'll bring those back up. Good. That's what I want. Bring these out to about there. Again, there's a small region that's walkable down there. Yeah, and then we'll continue with another district down in here, because I do want them to potentially kind of be different heights a little bit. Okay, now if I click on this, if I make this less or more severe, rather, bring the height down a little bit so that it still has some depth to it. How does that look? I want it to feel like there's a intentional canyon here, but I want it to feel like you can't get down there. So I might have to actually add more rocks in here, which is fine. Maybe we go a little bit lower. Yeah, but I want to make sure I don't infringe on the upper portions here. How deep is that? Maybe I should go lower. I don't know how low I can go, but this is the thing, is the chasms before, if you built them, they would create water. And then once they created water, you basically, I mean, for one, you couldn't walk in the chasms anyways. But once they created water, it didn't look right anyway, and I don't want these to have water. I want these to be basically, I can make this less and less and less and less. If I just make it 0 or 5, as low as it'll go, that just creates a sharper verticality to it. Oh, this is cool, because I think this should theoretically still be walkable. Yeah, you kind of come through here, have some big canyon walls, which we can put more rocks in here, and then you could still fight stuff. So I could make some monsters through here. Maybe there's a quest that we ought to go back through the canyons or something that are lower levels. This, I cannot explain how this actually creates the illusion of Zephyr that I wanted all along. I might have to completely redo this territory, and I mean that in the best, most excited way possible. Like, this does really actually change a lot. Because how low... I can keep going lower? It's saying I'm going lower on the value button, but it's not actually going lower. Maybe there's a limitation in terms of the slope outside of it. Yeah, it's not really letting me go lower. So that might be about as low as this district can go, just based on its current design. But that's okay. That's okay. I like where this is at currently. We'll have to fix some of the rocks and stuff, which is fine. But because this is red, this is blocked out, it's untraversable. If I just put rocks there anyway, it'll kind of block that. If you go in interact mode, you won't see it anyways. But if we put some rocks there, then it's like the rocks are untraversable, and you kind of create a nice, cool, yeah, like this is what I want right here. I want like that feeling like you're actually going through a canyon and it's walkable. All right, I'm happy now. I am really happy now. All right, and then first test of a bridge. That was in paths. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I was in the test kitchen before when I did this. But we're actually gonna have to research bridges. I forgot that I'm gonna have to research bridges. So it's a good thing I've got the ability to do this right now. We just need to choose a project, and right here at the top, bridges. So we'll go ahead and research bridges. All right, that's going to take a little bit of time to do. So I might just snap my fingers here, and through the power of editing, we'll get to the point where we've got bridges. All right, just gonna quickly unspeed up the video for just a second, because this is a very special moment. We're going to unlock bridges officially and quickly choose a new project. We want to improve some of our game master and development tools. So I'm gonna do game master movement speed. That sounds like a good thing to do just to help speed up the process of debugging and whatnot. Not important right now, but we'll just let it work. The really cool thing is this is going to be our first official bridge, and thus I want to make sure we all get to watch it happen. Now, this might destroy some of these rocks over here. I don't know exactly if the bridges destroy things. I can't remember when I did testing. But one little caveat here is I noticed when you go to build them, it doesn't give you like any icon on your cursor. So I've got this bridge selected, but it doesn't show anything until I click, and then I go to build the bridge. So kind of depending on where you want to start it, I want to start it near the edge of the cliff here, sort of. Let's see if, okay, it's gonna let me do that. That's good. I like the way those pylons are kind of off the side there. So we'll just kind of go directly like that, and then yeah, click again there, and there we go. That's it. Remember all that tedious work? Or maybe you don't remember. I remember all the tedious work of building the bridges before. Yeah, that's it. That's all it takes. Done. Done. Yep. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just move this little tent thing over here too, kind of still signify the entrance to the bridge. Yeah, and I still got that one over there, which is good. And then as long as this isn't too short, oh no, I need regular paths to be able to connect that just like that. And now we've got a little path connected to a bridge there, and we should be able to go, let's see, can I bring this up through? I sure can, just like that. Bada bing, bada boom. It's as simple as that. All right, let's get back to cracking. We'll get back to cracking, whatever that means. All right, it looks completely different than it did before, but a couple of things that I did. I made the top of this its own flat district, which means I could quite literally flatten it, which made it a little bit easier to kind of create the height differential that I want between the top and the bottom. And if you go down here, you've got this really large scale canyon now that you can actually have players walk through. So what I'll do is on both sides of this is I'll redefine the canyon, because it's ultimately what I think I want it to be. I want it to be a canyon. And then we'll kind of have it open up maybe into the sand dunes over here. Some of this might still be canyony. I might elevate this whole section and have it come up entrance-wise on a higher tier, and then kind of scale a little bit downward toward here. This might scale up again toward the tower here. Then I'll keep the bottom sections really kind of low through here, but I want it to feel like There are canyon sections like we quite literally tried to create through here, and then we'll really start to find some stuff in here too, which I think could take some time, but ultimately I think it's going to be worth it to kind of just really redefine this entire region. I think it bears talking about, but I have kind of discovered some different ways to play with the water. Specifically, you can give the water height without necessarily doing anything to the land that it's attached to. And as a result, not only would that allow you to create a little bit maybe easier waterfalls in some areas, but it also gives you the opportunity to line it up with walls and thus build an aqueduct. Now, what I have discovered is you can't have it go like into the water, like it won't even let me attach this to the existing wall. But if you build the walls first as your, edges, siding, and you can add the water in afterwards, and the water doesn't care if it touches other stuff. So now I just gotta ask myself, I put an aqueduct in here, which is 100% something I have wanted to do, but just didn't have a method to do it. Where would said aqueduct go? While I'm brainstorming, I'm gonna just release updated anti-cheat signatures. Gotta have them signatures. I guess I haven't really looked around to see what most of my problems are, but right now bug reports are really high. They're all type C bugs, which means they only get attacked when we are offline. And that happens on Mondays at 3 in the morning. Currently Wednesday. We've got a long ways to go. Let's see what happens if we just have type C bugs get fixed. I guess if I do that, they're going to be really busy. And I'm not going to be able to choose a project, am I? If I increase developer movement speed, I wonder if that'll help with bug fixing. I'm gonna do that again. So this will be version 2. We'll just see how well that goes. I don't know. All right, so I'm kind of thinking like you've got these main pillars in the middle here. What if we take it down the sides the other way? All right, this is gonna get complicated trying to get this water through here. So I'm gonna kind of just roll with it. The real question is, how do I get it to cross paths? And I've got a plan. I just checked, and this recording's been going for over 4 hours, so I should probably start to back it off a little bit. But I'd say we pretty much worked on almost like a brand new region with everything we've done in here. Technically, now when you look at this, there's a number of areas here where technically I'm allowing players to move through. Like right now, you see, look at this guy. He is just cruising on up the side of this mountain. I'm kind of okay with that right now. I don't know how I feel exactly. That might be something I change in the future. I don't know. Good news is it's a pretty easy fix. Otherwise, I love how all these additional canyons came out, because now I've got places down here where I can add more enemies. There's probably a case to be made about making more quest lines in this region now, and I definitely agree with that. But the new look of the entrance exit area over here that leads into this region, as well as just areas in the starting section of this region with the smaller entrance town here, and then where I had those bridges kind of going across originally, I gotta fix this right here. That's intersecting a bridge. Yeah, that's good enough. But yeah, now it actually feels like there needs to be a bridge here. Like it goes across this canyon, and we can make it so this canyon is like, you know, you don't want to go down here because there's at least one of these big bad elite guys down here. So like they don't know where he is exactly, but they know it's dangerous. So they've built bridges to help people cross through these dangerous regions. You can also obviously still take the air Zeppelin, or just the Zeppelin, because I guess most Zeppelins are in the air, aren't they, Kyle? But the biggest thing is that this whole middle section is now traversable. So this is just like a sand dune area, really dangerous open space with Rashnor worms are roaming freely. Our little friend here, this little guy, he's still here. He's more accessible than he was previously. People are walking across the desert, which is what I've always wanted to see, is them be able to just cross the vast open areas. And I would argue that, like, yeah, this is a pretty small region, and it is in terms of the visuals of a desert, a vast open desert, but I think in lore, this area would be massive and just impassable for the most part on foot, for the sake of, you know, the size of this game. You know, we want to have some cool features and stuff. So the canyons look awesome now. We've got canyons that are more vertical as you go through portions like this where you can't walk up on the ridges, but you've got portions like this where you can walk up a high and you look down into areas where now you can walk. Needless to say, I'm really excited. And then the water features just obviously have exploded the capabilities of what else we can do. So I'm really excited to see what else we can do in the future with water features, especially in existing areas already, but also with, you know, just other areas. There's probably a case to be made about this region over here, redoing some of the water, making it more accessible. I think I would love to play around with the idea of the water somehow falling from up high on some of these islands, which I think I can do. I don't know if I would be able to do it well, but I think I can do. And then the future of water in the future. The future of water in the future. Good words, Kyle. You're really good at this. You're a linguistic master. But I would say for now this is a good place to call it, because we've really explored the new update. We've done a lot of really positive work, and I'm absolutely ecstatic about the future of the game again. Not that I wasn't. I wasn't burnt out, but I was definitely kind of like, I need something new. And new scenery and stuff is fun to play with when those kind of updates come out, but major update like this where now an entire region has had new life breathed into it. I mean, this was my original vision for Zephyr. This is like the way it was supposed to be. And I'm really happy, and I'm very grateful and thankful to the devs. Until next time though, I'm Kyle, and this has been that one playthrough of MMORPG Tycoon 2, and I hope to see you in the next episode.